Cooper. I grew up in Waihi, spent a lot of time at Waihi Beach, and got in love with the sea quite quickly. Learned to swim by going surfing. That's how it all went in those days. We didn't have school with swimming classes and all that sort of thing. We just jumped in the sea, and if we drowned, we drowned. But my first experience of catching a wave, was on a life-saving ski made out of plywood and a wooden frame, and it weighed about 100 pounds and was about 12 feet long. And I had a friend that his dad was a doctor in Waihi, and he retired, and he had this thing under his house, the ski. When they got too heavy from being waterlogged, they used to retire them. We'd get it out from under the house and take it down the beach and pretend we knew what we were doing. And I caught a wave one day on it, and it flipped over end for end, and it smacked me a real beauty. And I ended up lying face down in the water, and if my friend hadn't have been there, and his dad was not being a doctor, he wouldn't have known how to give me the resuscitation technique. So I probably would never be talking to you about this. Eventually fell in love with the idea of having a proper surfboard, but in those days I was just a paper boy. But I got an apprenticeship with an electrician, and I was working in Paira, and my dad was a truck driver in Paira, so we'd drive through together in the mornings. Dad and I had come home, and we drove past the Paira hardware one day, and there was a surfboard in the window, and it was made in Australia. So I put a deposit down on one, and then I waited 3 months for it to get made in Sydney and then shipped over to me. And that was my first surfboard, and it was Gordon Wood's surfboard, 9'6", had 3 stringers in it, and it was beautiful. And then I ruined it by putting wax on it. But as soon as I got in the water on it, I just loved it. I paddled around on it and got used to how it felt, how heavy it was and all that. And then I started catching waves, and before long there was about 5 of us at Waihi Beach all had surfboards, and we were all competing against each other for nose riding and just whether we could catch a lot of waves or not. And Waihi Beach is usually pretty small, so those big boards were very handy. They gave us time to stand up and do things, you know. And this is when we were all about 14, you know, sunburnt to hell and just keen. Here's a famous board. This board here was ridden for many, many years at Port Waikato and here at Raglan. And it's another Alan Burning Spears channel bottom thruster, but with a little swallowtail. Yeah. And I've seen so many barrels standing on this board, I've lost count. Yes, definitely something different for those days. Big concave through here, channels through there. Concave goes right through here. And he's dead now too. He got hit by a bus while he was on a scooter in Bali. Because of the competitiveness of it all, we started looking for other places to go surfing because it was getting too nasty where we lived. So we started going up the coast. There was a bunch of brothers, the Sales brothers. There was Stephen, Russell, Clive and Warwick. And we'd drive up the coast and we'd go to places like Wheretaua and Whangamata and Opotari and even up to Tairua once because it was a long way for us. And there was no one surfing up there. It was just fishermen and people walking on the beach. For about 2 years of that, I was working in Auckland, and a friend of mine had started working at a surfboard factory, and we got together one day and he just said to me, would you like to make surfboards? And I said, yeah, I'd love to do anything except what I'm doing right now. So he got me a job at a place called Atlas Woods up on the north shore of out at Takapuna there, and I worked there for a while and met a lot of the top surfers in the country and guys from overseas, and then I got an offer to go and work overseas. Got off the boat in Sydney and I hitchhiked out of Sydney, and I got there and he introduced me to the local surfing crowd, and one of them, his dad owned a surfboard factory, this guy called Sam Egan, and he offered me some work, and then I met Ray Richards, which is Mark Richards, the world champion, his dad, and Mark was only about 2 years old at the time, and I started doing ding repairs at his surf shop in the main street of Newcastle, and then night work at Sam Egan's. And one day Ray came down and said, "Can you take the boy down to the beach? I've just got a surfboard for him." And back in those days we were all still riding 8'6", 9-foot boards, and his board was 4 feet long, and it was perfect for him being 2 years old. So I actually took the world champion to be down to the beach at Merriweather and pushed him into whitewater for the first time in his life. That was good fun. Famous one, this one, it's been in the movies. Yeah. This is a Grey Seal surfboard. This is number 5, the 5th one they built. This was made out of strips of foam. When you cut surfboards outlines, you end up with strips. Okay. That made them into channels. And that's how much water pressure there is. And this keel thing was the original idea. We got towed behind bloody outboard motorboats with 100 horse Mercuries, and we'd be doing 70 k's on the water, and boy did we eat it when we came off in that last paradise. I'm on this one and I end up eating it and going. Somehow or other I ended up down in Hastings, and we found an ad in the paper for a house for rent. It was at some place called Tiawonga. And I had 2 mates with me. One was a junkie and the other one was a musician junkie. And we had a little Morithau, and we drove out to this Tiawonga place, and we rented this little batch right on the beach down there. And when I woke up the next morning and rolled over on my bed, I was in a little sunroom on the side of the batch, and there was this perfect right-hand point break right in front of me, and no one in the water. It was just waves breaking empty for hours and hours. So I got my surfboard and paddled out, and 11 years later I'd met my wife by then, and we got married, and then we went places, and I just kept surfing and surfing and surfing and doing other things in between. Yeah, in the early 70s and through to the mid 70s I was travelling up from Hawke's Bay to my friend's factory in Mount Maunganui, up on a farm, and we were making boards up there called Grey Seal, and I got invited to a couple of surf comps down at Mount Maunganui, and I went in one with all the best surfers in New Zealand and came second. I got beaten by the New Zealand champion, who became a legend, Alan Byrne, and he was making boards with us at the factory at Grey Seal, so I knew him well, and I was really pissed that I didn't beat him. But after that I got invited into the working men's competition, which is all the guys that make surfboards in New Zealand that are in the factories can go and compete against each other on their new boards. So I made a new board down at Hastings at Handa's Surfboards, and I took it up there, and it was a revolutionary new single fin that no one had ever seen before, and that young design board, and I rode that for 2 days up at the blowhole at Mount Maunganui, and I won that one, and that gave me $300. That was big money in those days. So I shouted at everybody at the pub, and then I bought them all hamburgers and chips, and I came home with $100, I think. And the day I got back to Tiawonga, the surf had come up, so I just paddled straight out there. I was sitting amongst my mates telling them I'd just won the comp up there, and they're all saying bullshit. No one believed me until it came out in the paper. So we ended up over a period of time going from Gisborne, Hawke's Bay, up into the mountains in Hawke's Bay, back down to Gisborne, and then over to Mahia, and then up to Port Waikato, and up to Waihi Beach, and over to Wheretaua, and back to Port Waikato, and down to Raglan. And we've been here 30 years, over 30 years now in Raglan. And Diane and I have been married for over 50 years. And I've only just stopped surfing because my health stopped me. I'm still interested in it. I'm still interested in bringing other people into it. I've encouraged my kids and my grandkids. My son still surfs, and my grandson likes doing it too occasionally. He's a damn good surfer too. I think that's how you pass it on. It's a thing. One neat thing I've had since I've been living here in Raglan is all 3 generations in the water at the same time. It's pretty neat. There's not many people can do that, so that's been a good thing. But the thing is, it's all in the past now, so all I've got is memories, but I'm still here. I think that's a pretty good testament to how surfing can keep you going.
Secret place in the midst of a whale in a deep, deep ocean, sunshine brightly on my skin. But one thing stills the noise, it's your voice.